here, but he's looking for the first temple period. And this is what he finds, what we see in front of us. Okay? So here, look how amazing it is. We'll just look at it for 20 minutes. What do we see in front of us? It's
bunch of rocks.
important to understand. So these steps, you see these steep steps? That is not those are not steps. That is a wall holding something significant up above. Okay, holding the mountain. And we know 20 years later we found a very significant building up above. But on this wall were built many, many findings. And what do we see? Again, puzzle pieces. So the first puzzle piece is this house. You see that room with 2 pillars and 2 stumps? That is a classic 4-room house built from the times of Joshua, from the conquering of Israel by the tribes. We see that house built in the first temple period all over Israel. We found hundreds of this design, okay? This is a house classic, okay, so we find this. So this is a first temple finding, not surprising. But to the left of that house, there's a staircase. You see that staircase? That staircase led to a second floor. What is the second floor doing? That is not very common, okay? Let's let that be. The second puzzle piece, do you see this stone? Square stone with a hole in it, right in front of us?
Yeah.
Okay, the group is going to pass. What is that? Flagpole, maybe? What else? Any ideas?
Grindstone for wheat.
Maybe grindstone for wheat?
Olives.
Okay, they're usually much bigger, and they don't have a hole in it there. So what is it? That is an ancient toilet. Okay? That is an ancient toilet. How do we know? We move the stone aside. Under the stone there's a pit. Okay? That pit, we even found stuff in that pit. We send it to the lab. Okay? Thank you. And we also know that whoever used this toilet, okay, had stomach problems. He probably ate raw meat and he had worms in his stomach. Okay? So it gets very specific. I won't continue. But finding a toilet, is that common, having a toilet right near your house in ancient times? Why not?
Just rich people.
Why only rich people? There's no sewage taking out everything outside the city. Meaning, I need to clean it out. It needs a lot of upkeep. Who does that? Servants, slaves. Meaning, whoever lived here had a 2-floored villa, okay, and a toilet right near his house. Rabbinical writings say, who's considered rich? Ezu Ashir? Whoever has a toilet near his table. Okay, that is 2,000 years ago. So 2,500 years ago is even, we know having a toilet means it's a sign of status. Okay, so Yigal Shiloh finds this 2-floored villa and a toilet, understands that whoever lived here was probably rich. But he doesn't find only that. He finds a room which has over 50 bulot. What are bulot? Okay, these are bulot. They're much smaller. Okay, they're like small. What?
How do you spell it?
It's a Hebrew word. I'll now say how it's called in English. Okay, these are clay seals. Okay, the size of a coin. Okay, clay seals. He finds a room with over 50 of them. Okay, not only in that room, also a few scattered around, but mainly in that room. Okay, what are clay seals? Today, if I want to send a letter to the States, how do I send a message? No, if I want to send a message. Text, WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter. Can I continue? Okay, I have many ways in order to contact my siblings in the States. In ancient times, like you said, if I want to write someone, I need to actually write with pen and paper. Okay, soon we won't remember what that means. Okay, write in pen and paper. But if I want that letter to stay classified and no one to read it, how do I make sure no one read it on the way? Okay, I take the paper, I roll it up. Okay, I take a clay when it's still wet. I have my ring with my name engraved on it, and I engrave my name on that seal. I wait for it to dry up. Now, if you got my letter and that seal is broken, what do you know? Someone read it. Meaning, this is a way to leave my letters classified. Other than that, it also became the signature. Think of getting a letter, and at the end, King David. Okay, this is important. Okay? Or if it's someone, I don't know, John, I don't know who, so it's not important. Okay? So having a signature and also sealing the letter. What does it mean finding a room with over 50 of these?
Must have been an important person doing important things.
What?
Lots of correspondence.
Lots of correspondence. Maybe a post office or something. Okay? Right near a rich neighborhood. Maybe if this is a capital, Jerusalem is the capital of a kingdom, you need to rule the capital, right? You need to manage it. Okay? So having a room, a post office, sending the southern city of Arad, send me wheat and I'll send you soldiers because there's an enemy coming, etc. You have to rule the capital from where? Maybe from where we are. How do we know that even more? Because Igal Shiloh reads out the names written on the bulot, on the clay seals. And they're written in ancient Hebrew. We know to read it today. And he reads out the names, and 3 of them catch his eye. 3 of them are, he recognizes the names from somewhere. Now, the names are Gedaliahu, the son of Pashhur, Jeuchal, the son of Shelemiah. And you say, okay, these are not my neighbors. Who is called in these very ancient names, and why are they recognizable? Why do I know them? Where do I know them from? And he starts thinking, where do I know these names from? And then he finally tells one of his workers, quickly get me a Bible. And he gets him the Bible, and Igal Shiloh opens in the book of Jeremiah 38. Okay, and he reads out, then Shephatiah the son of Matan, and Gedaliahu the son of Pashhur, Gedaliahu the son of Pashhur, and Jeuchal the son of Shelemiah, heard the words that Jeremiah had spoken to all the people. The exact same names found in an historical archeological finding, buried for 2,500 years, waiting for him to find, are the exact same names told in a story, fiction, told from father to son, mother to daughter for centuries. A connection. This is a very, very significant finding, right where we're standing now. And who are these figures that Jeremiah tells us about, that we found their seals? They are ministers in the kingdom of Zedekiah, the last king of Judea. And those seals are dated to the times of Jeremiah. Meaning, he finds a connection, a correlation between an historical finding, archaeological finding, to the biblical story right where we're standing now. And if we're already speaking about these figures, what are they telling us? What is this story speaking about? So the background we need to understand is we spoke about David, the first king. I want to speak now about Zedekiah, the last king of Judea, the last king of Jerusalem in the first temple period. And Zedekiah is under Babylonian rule. The Babylons are an enemy from the north, okay, the biggest empire in the world. He's under their rule, and he doesn't like being under the rule, and he decides to rebel, okay? And he's rebelling against the Babylons, and what does Jeremiah think about that rebellion? These ministers are walking out in the streets and hear Jeremiah. I'm reading out. Heard the words that Jeremiah had spoken to all the people, saying, thus says the Lord, he that remains in this city shall die by the sword, by the famine, and by the pestilence. But he that goes over to the Babylons shall live. So, we have the king preparing for rebellion with his ministers, and we have the prophet outside in the streets screaming, we're going to lose, we're going to die, we have to surrender. The ministers hear this. The ministers, we found their seals. They hear Jeremiah and they go to the king and say, what are we going to do? We are preparing for war, and he's lowering the morale of the people. What are we going to do with him? Immediately Zedekiah says, throw him to the pit. And Jeremiah is dragged into the pit, to jail, kicking and screaming, please someone listen. The city is going to burn. We're going to lose this rebellion. But no one listens then. I want to go back to Igal Shiloh. Igal Shiloh is digging here in the 80s, and he's digging in Jerusalem's dirt, which is white, and he comes home every day, digging all day, right? It's a very dirty work, and his clothes are all white. One day he comes home, he opens the door, and his wife looks at him, and she says, Igal, ma kara? What happened? He says, what? He says, look at yourself. You're all black. Igal looks at himself. He's covered with a black layer. His shirt, his pants, his hands, his hair. What happened? Igal Shiloh tells us that when he reached these rooms we spoke about, they were covered with a black layer.
Volcano?
1 second.
Fire. So it's city burn.
We know scientifically that clay seals are supposed to disintegrate over 2,500 years. How did they survive to the extent I could read them out with my bare eye? We know that only if they overgo a very high burn, they are baked and preserved. In that room, he also finds signs of fire on the walls. Between the houses, he finds Babylonian arrowheads and Judanian arrowheads, meaning where we're now standing, there was a war. There was fighting right where we are. That layer, that black layer, is a layer of ash. If you were in the Israel Museum, part of it is preserved till today because he's the first person to actually touch, to be full of a black layer of ash of the prophecy of Jeremiah. The city will burn, and here, 2,500 years later, Yigal Shiloh is touching the burning city. That is what he found here, right where we are. Meaning, we see in front of us the thriving city of Jerusalem, a minister valley with a toilet. But we found also right in front of us the burning city, the ashes, the destruction. If this is the first temple tour, and I started with the first king, and now ended with the last king, so we ended our tour, right? Thank you very much. My name was Ben. No? Why did I already now speak about the end of the story? Maybe because what I want us to do on our short time we have left is to try and understand how did this great dream of King David, of a city to unite the people, how did this dream come to burn, to the ashes Yigal Shiloh found? How did this happen? That's what I want us to try and see. To understand that, we'll even go a step before David, to the times of the Jebusite, and now go down their water system.